Today I wrote my own story and I'm going to read the first 2 chapters. Basically, the story that I'm trying to write is about me going into a package and there being like a portal, and once I put my head into the package to see what's inside, I go into this fantasy world which has everything that I dream about, everything that I want to have in my life, and then the story goes on from there. I just write about my experiences, my journey in the fantasy world, and then coming back and telling everyone, stuff like that. Chapter 1, My Fantasy World. My fantasy world. Throughout my life, I wanted to have the experience of living in my own fantasy world. My name is Ryan. I'm 13 years old, about to turn 14. I have a really big family with 2 siblings, 7 cousins, first cousins, 2 parents, and 3 grandparents. Sometimes I feel like I would want to escape this environment with school, stress, and sickness. I'd love to have a world with a chocolate river full of the cookies that my dad makes for me. In the open areas, I would love to have the best soccer field you can imagine. In the streets, I would want to have electric scooters and electric bikes for travel. I would love for there to be mansions surrounding the towns with beautiful views, pools, golf courses, anything you could dream of. In my world, everything would be organized. The supermarkets would be pretty much empty because I'm a super picky eater, but it would all have to have my favorite foods. There would be so many childhood memories around this fantasy world, like my grandmother who passed away 2 years ago, the trampoline parks, the zoos, and the arcades. I would put all my favorite vacation spots in the world, like Wildwood, New Jersey, Turks and Caicos, and Ireland. My fantasy world would not include the bad things or emotions in life: sickness, stress, frustration, school, the list goes on. My fantasy would be my whole life into one city, one place, one world. Chapter 2, My Dream. I went to sleep on a Sunday night. I was loathing the fact of going to school. That would be something my fantasy world wouldn't have: school. Last night I dreamed about the fantasy world again. This time I was talking to Graham, my grandma who passed away in 2024. We were at the zoo, where we all used to go all the time. We were walking past the seals exhibit when I asked her this question. What is your fantasy world? What's your dream world? She went and talked about the beach, Wildwood, New Jersey, her family, and friends. I was surprised. That's all? Said to her, expecting more stuff in her fantasy. Yes, she said. It looked like nothing was going to change that. All I need in my fantasy world is family. Once I told her about my fantasy world of chocolate, the numerous trampoline parks, and the huge mansions, she said to me, Who cares about chocolate candies in the arcades? Why do the soccer fields even get in the conversation of things? Let me ask you this, she said, trying to prove her point even farther. Would you rather be alone in your fantasy world, or be with your family in the real world? It would be cool for a bit to live in the fantasy world, I said. I thought about the question even more. Alone in a fantasy, or together in the real world? In the dream on Sunday night, I kept walking with her towards the other exhibits. Back then, around 4 to 5 years ago, I was very interested in the animals. We saw the giraffes, their purple tongues stood out to me. We went and saw the lions, their exhibit area just looked cool, but that moment was when my alarm went off. It was Monday morning. I got up and fetched some breakfast. Once that was done, I left for school. When I got into my first period class, I could not stop thinking about that dream with Graham. Not only was she deceased, and I was missing her very much, but what she said in that dream. That phrase that keeps making me think. Do I even want to live in a fantasy world anymore? Why do I dream of these things if I don't even want it to happen anymore? After lunch that day, my friends came up to me and asked why I was feeling sad. I told them it was a family issue, and they let me be. At this point, I felt like my dreams would never come true, and if they did, it wouldn't even be fun anymore. In English, I wasn't feeling good. I went to the nurse's office where they said I should go home. They said there was an outbreak of the flu going around, and they didn't want me to be contagious. I went home, sick, tired, and mentally exhausted. My fantasy world wouldn't have that much suffering. It was Tuesday. I was still sick. I couldn't go to school today. Last night was rough. I dreamed about the fantasy world again, but this time I was on a boat tour in my chocolate river with my mom. We had a deep conversation on how my life was going to develop and go through change, which made me feel like an adult, but also made me feel frustrated. First of all, my fantasy world would have to go under construction because my childhood hobbies would slowly fade away. The main reason was the feeling of wanting to stay a kid. My fantasy world in adulthood would be boring. No trampoline parks, no arcades, no zoos, nothing fun. This made me realize, if I was growing older, I have to take a chance now. My chance to live in my own fantasy.